I hope this is not a very long video, but I'm going to talk about risk and volatility, and also to tell you why our intolerance for volatility and maybe a little bit of intolerance for risk is are perhaps the biggest impediments to our creating a reasonable sized retirement portfolio, right? To put together a retirement portfolio, whether you want to retire at 50 or at 55 or at 48, whatever, you have to be able to understand risk. You have to be able to understand volatility. So typically, when you go to an advisor, he's going to ask you questions like, when the market if the market falls 20%, will you add more to your portfolio? Will you remove everything from your portfolio and things like that? And just imagine a 23-year-old girl is sitting across a 50-year-old man and asking him what is his risk tolerance. The macho man is going to say, oh, I'm Raja Shivaji. I have a high level of risk tolerance, so I can do whatever I want. That is exactly how a client reacts during a bull market. When the markets are up, he thinks he has a lot of risk taking ability, and it is not something which he thinks and says with his family. I think risk tolerance done with the family, where the husband and wife are sitting together, will get a far more sensible answer than what men reply on their own. And it takes a very long time, maybe 5 years, for an advisor to really find out what is the risk tolerance of a client, because when the market is giving 30% return, he thinks, oh, he's going to get it permanently year on year. So next year, when the market falls, say 10%, then he is going to come to you and say, oh, I thought that if there are professionals managing it, why can't they protect us from the backside, from the downside? Why are they not telling us in advance that this time you should remove money? Right? Why are they not saying, okay, now you're going to get very less return, so we will have more money in debt and less money in equity? Why don't they tell us? They don't tell us because they are fund managers. They are not managing your own portfolio. You are the manager of your own portfolio with some little help from your financial advisor. Ultimately, the financial advisor can tell you what to do, but you have to conquer your own greed and fear, right? So that's not going to be very easy going forward. So what is risk and what is volatility? For a person who is accumulating money for his children's education, not being able to fund the education for whatever reasons, that is risk. If you are a retired person, making sure that your portfolio lasts across long periods of time, providing for taxation and inflation, that is your fund management skills or your portfolio management skills. And if you don't do it properly, there will be volatility, of course. The risk is that at the age of 78 or at the age of 79, you run out of money, then you have to move in with your children. That is risk. So understand the difference. The plane with which you're traveling has got some engine trouble or something like that, or forget engine trouble. It hits a cloud, and there is you find that the plane is not exactly stable. You find the lights coming on, the pilot asking you to wear your seat belt. That's volatility, right? So that happens with very many flights, but every flight does not crash. Your risk is crash, the plane not being able to land because of bad weather, crashing and dying. So crashing and dying is very rare. Volatility is very, very common, right? Every portfolio will fluctuate, and that time you will feel, oh God, have I got my asset allocation wrong? Should I have had more money in bonds and less money in equity, right? Those are the worries that you will have. So understand the difference between risk and volatility. So let me repeat. I have said this many times in the past. Volatility means market fluctuation, right? So you hear that some tanks have been moving in Ukraine and Putin is going to do something. That is noise. That is going to create some turbulence in your portfolio, but it is not going to create a crash. Crash is when you have not been able to estimate inflation, you have not done a very tax efficient investment, like you kept money in a bank fixed deposit and you pay tax on it every year, instead of keeping money in an ultra short bond fund and paying tax in it once in 5 years or 10 years or 25 years, right? So that is bad risk, bad tax management. Or putting too much money into debt, saying, oh, I can't take risk. Here you are taking the risk of inflation. So not being able to understand the two is also a risk. So what is risk is when you are unable to meet your goals for whatever reasons, and your goals again I'm saying are fixed time goals, like your daughter's class 12 is fixed, your daughter's graduation is fixed, you want her to go abroad, you need money on that day. You can't say I will give you money next year when the market improves. Buying a bigger car, buying a bigger house, and all those things are things which you can postpone, which is not hard coded saying I have to buy a new house in 2027. It could be 2026 or it could be 2028. Also, how you react to volatility is, if the market is fluctuating and then going up, fluctuating then going up, then your reaction is very different from market fluctuating then going down, market fluctuating then going down, because suddenly you want to call up your advisor and say, market, I have been watching the market for the last 3 months, it's only going down. Should I remove money from equity and put it into debt? I know what has happened, but can I just remove money? So reacting is risk, because the risk is your portfolio will not achieve the target that you want it to achieve, right? So understanding that there will be fluctuation in the value of your portfolio on a day-to-day basis is, even if you have invested in debt, because there is something called mark to market. And definitely when you have money in equity, understanding that there will be variation or fluctuation in your portfolio, understanding that means you're doing your very good first step in risk management. But reacting to the noise, reacting to something happening in Ukraine and therefore removing money is a bad way of inviting risk, saying suddenly, oh, I'm 78 years of age, I've run out of money, now I have to go and live with my children. Do you want to do that? So understand the difference between volatility and risk, because the more intolerant you are towards volatility, chances are your advisor will ask you to put more money in debt, and that the risk could be inflation, right? So understanding the risk of not taking risk, understanding the risk of inflation, understanding the risk of not being very tax efficient while investing, all that will lead to more risk in your portfolio. Like Buffett says, not understanding what you're doing is risk, right? So, and also to say, okay, I've watched the last 3 months, if the next 3 years continues to be as volatile, I will not make any money, I will lose money, so let me do one thing, let me sell off all my equity and invest in debt. Or to say, oh, my debt returns are only about 4 or 5%, and that's not very good, and my equity returns are 18% over the last 6 months that I've seen, so let me sell off all my debt and put money into equity. Both the decisions would be wrong. You need your asset allocation, but you also need to understand the difference between risk and volatility, and understanding that intolerance to volatility is the biggest risk to your not meeting your goals. So diversifying across a range of assets, which could be mid cap, large cap, small cap, foreign equity, bonds, cash, gold, maybe silver, having created REITs, InvITs, right? So create a good portfolio. Decide how much you want to be in gold, how much in silver, how much in REITs, how much in InvITs, and all those things, large cap, mid cap, all across this. Invest regularly and tell yourself every morning that I cannot predict market returns, but I can predict my own behavior. When the market falls over the next 1, 2, 3 years, I will not bother, simply because I am currently earning my income. Out of that surplus I am investing, and I will stay invested over next 2, 3, 5 years, does not matter. I do not need money from my portfolio over the next 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, 2 years, 5 years, whatever. Therefore the volatility is going to help me. I can get more units of the same assets simply because the prices have fallen. So I am a beneficiary of volatility. I should not convert this volatility into risk by redeeming at the wrong time. If a client buys an asset and is not willing to sit through bad times and actually sells off during bad times, that is a bad asset allocation based on your poor understanding of psychology or financial psychology or behavioral finance. Because it is going to be very inefficient if a client withdraws money from an equity fund exactly when it has fallen 20-30%, which might perhaps be the best time to be coming in rather than going out. I've always said that equity funds, you should exit only from a position of comfort. Today, if you are very comfortable with some 22% return in equity and you're very happy about it, maybe it is time for you to remove money and put it into ultra short bond fund. Don't ask me what I'm doing. I'm always 90% plus in equity, and it does not. I will not bat an eyelid if the market falls another 10-15%. It does not bother me, right? So you have to stop worrying about volatility. You have to worry about risk, saying if I become a slave to volatility and I behave exactly because I heard something in the media or for whatever reasons, I invite risk of not being able to meet my goals. That is the real risk of you not being able to fund your children's education, or at some old age, maybe 78, 80, 82, having to move in with your children because you just don't have enough money to live. So understand all those risks, and then you will be able to appreciate the difference between risk and volatility. Thank you.